كلنا هون جايين ضد التطبيع وضد السريل، وهيدا اللوجو لبنانيون ضد التطبيع. يروحوا هني لعند الاسرائيلي اذا كثير حابينه لنتنياهو، مثل ما الصحناوي كان قاعد معه، يروح يقعد بيننا بس يدلمع ما يرجع لعنا، لانه ما رح يفوت على لبنان.
Hey everyone, this is Ali Mazloum and you're watching Free Palestine TV. Today is Friday, August 7th, and we are in Beirut. Before we begin with this report, I ask you to press the like and subscribe buttons on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website freepalestine.video to donate so we can continue bringing you this content. Today we have a special guest, Professor Beqaa. Thank you for coming with us, Professor Habib. Can you please tell the audience where are we today?
We're now in Sehat Riyad Salah, which is Riyad Salah Square. One of the first leaders of Lebanon is a statue here. And this place is often used for all kinds of protests. We've witnessed many protests here over the last decades. And it's very natural to have a protest here. Today the protest is
That's against normalization.
right.
Okay, Professor, why always Lebanese people protest in this square exactly? Who lives there?
Right. Well, this is the Grand Serail, okay, which is the Prime Minister's residence and the Prime Minister's offices. Most protests will come here to try to shout to see if anyone's listening. Usually no one's listening. It seems no one ever comes to the balcony to say hello to us. We've been here many times over many decades, beginning with the reconstruction of this whole area, because this area represents, right, the kind of colonization of Beirut by a private corporation. And the kind of the post-war environment that we had after the Civil War, or the International War, whatever you want to call it. Basically, a lot of money came to Beirut to rebuild the fancy area of Beirut, to make it into a very exclusive area that is very much separate from the people of Lebanon. So the irony is that the people have no place to go in the city because there isn't much public spaces. So they come to these very small sidewalks. You can see it's not even designed really in any way to be a place. We will stand. It's just a traffic island, basically a traffic triangle, and people will often occupy all of these spaces here. We have seen times when we saw 1 million people here. We saw this all full of thousands of people. An ocean of people was here many times. Today it's a small crowd. Unfortunately, it's still a slow awakening, I think, to what's happening. But it's an interesting beginning to show that, you know, there is a part of this country that is not accepting what the President and Prime Minister have agreed to. In fact, the President and Prime Minister have agreed to something extraordinary that is totally in contradiction to Lebanese law and Lebanese constitution, and they have gotten no approval from the Lebanese people. So there has been no referendum, no vote, no parliamentary approval. And really, it's just two men, the President and Prime Minister, who are basically deciding the future of the country without really consulting with the public. Some people have come out to protest, but we know that people are very worn down by the wars. They're very worn down by so many protests happening here. I think people are so tired in some way of protesting that it's kind of hard to get people to come out in some ways. But I think that we will see gradually, as people realize what's happening, you know, more of a pushback to hold the government accountable, again, for its actions which have not been approved by the people. The people of Lebanon have not approved these normalization agreements at all, legally or in any kind of popular way.
Okay, so Professor, just to make it clear, there's a small crowd here because the organizers said that they were threatened previously. The government tried preventing the people from protesting here. We know the reason. The government knows that those people have the right to protest, and they're still preventing them. Professor.
So there's a fear, there is a fatigue, there's many elements that make people very weary, and the police have a big presence here. There's more police and military than protesters, and that's been the case many times in the past.
Our country is still under daily attack, and this government is still negotiating with the enemy and trying to have peace with them, as if those monsters aren't doing anything to our research. How can you comment on that?
I mean, you know what's ironic? I noticed that the police are giving many parking tickets to cars that are parked probably for the protest. And I wonder, why can't the police give a parking ticket at least to the Israeli occupation forces? Of course, their tanks, I'm sure, are parked illegally on our land. So why is the state only using its power, right, on the small people, on the poor people, and not actually reflecting on the giant illegal occupation, invasion, and genocide? Genocide itself is illegal, right? So where's the Lebanese state giving a ticket about that? Not even giving a ticket, not even challenging, right? We have seen the Lebanese state has not only agreed to do things without the consent of the people, but they've also agreed that the people cannot actually challenge legally the Israeli occupation. I mean, this is insane. This never happened really, I think, in history, where a government said they relinquished the right of the people to actually ask for reparations, to ask for the prisoners, to ask for compensations, any kind of justice, really, right? They're robbing the people's right to justice. And this is fundamentally anti-democratic. Yeah. So that's, I think, part of the reason why there's so much anger that is coming up. But you're right. There is a very strong police presence. There is a climate of fear today in Lebanon that there isn't really allowing a kind of a debate, right, about this topic. And I think also there is also maybe the political movements are kind of in disarray right now. So usually when protests in any country in the world, they have to have organizing bodies, big organizing bodies. So we don't see the political parties really present there. We've seen a couple of flags, but really no major presence, you know. I stood in the square at a time in 2005, on March 8, 2005, when there was an entire, I remember, this was actually a parking lot at the time. Now it's excavated as an archaeological site. Here was a beautiful site, actually, you should check it out. But before, there was a giant parking lot, and it was all people. There were tents, and they actually set up tents. And after the 2006 war, there was a kind of a camp occupation of this whole site for over a year and a half. And then in March 14th, 2005, there was another movement on that side. There were these competing movements, right, kind of supporting the resistance and kind of opposing the resistance, and also Syria's role in the country. Things have changed so much. Yeah. This has seen so much. And I remember they even planted a tree here at one point. It was called Shajarat al-Wahda al-Wataniyya. It was a national unity flag. Yeah. I remember when Hezbollah actually occupied this space, they said that when they left it after a year and a half, they would return it better than they found it. Mm-hmm. And they were actually men from Hezbollah who were actually gardeners, and they were planting flowers and cleaning up. So we've seen so many ups and downs in this space, and you know, it's something that you obviously want to see people being democratic, but it's also kind of sad that the people have to have so many protests before getting any rights. Yeah. You know, and so many ceasefires we have seen. You know, not just in the last 3 years, but through our history.
Tens of southern villages come under daily artillery shelling, daily airstrikes. Civilians are still being martyred until this hour, and the leaders, or the ones who are supposed to represent the citizens of Lebanon, do not even make a statement about how the Zionists are violating the terms of the agreements. Professor, a few days ago, Zionist settlers came to villages in South Lebanon, and they were like, we want to settle here. That's what this government has done to our land. They have given the south of Lebanon to the Zionists, and they know what they're planning for.
I mean, it's a shame that more people are not upset, it seems, about the fact that you lost 60 villages that have been erased from the map. I mean, in any country, I can't imagine that people would remain silent if they lost a quarter of their country. Can you imagine in France or the United States or Germany or anywhere if they lost, you know, a quarter of their country, tens and tens of towns and cities? There would be uproar. But we have come to the point where the Lebanese state is so weak, and the Lebanese population has been so beaten, right, by so many decades of war, that people are left in some ways to find this normal. And we know that this is a deeply colonized space as well, right? So then people have this white savior complex. Yeah. They have this belief that, well, despite all this destruction, that European and North American countries have done to this country, have supplied weapons, have supplied political cover for Israel, despite all of this massive destruction, this genocide that's happening in South Lebanon, which really is not spoken about enough, which is erasing all life. Tens of thousands of houses, thousands of people have been killed, ambulances have been targeted, medics have been targeted, journalists have been targeted. Despite all of this insane bloodshed, extraordinary violence, they're willing to say, let's sit down and negotiate. So can you imagine really what it takes for a people to really be at that end, right? To be able to say, okay, I've come to a complete surrender, or I've come to the realization, not just a surrender, but that I will actually normalize this destruction of my country, that I will just kind of say it's okay. So you have to imagine how much has been done to the Lebanese people to get to this point in terms of the kind of money that has come to this country as well. Money has come to this country to support, a lot of money has been poured into this country, right? To support certain institutions, certain NGOs, certain kind of groups and organizations that have pursued and normalized the agenda of Western superiority and Western supremacy and white supremacy, right? And it might not be always said, spoken exactly like that. But when you kind of elevate this idea that, the rule of the law is located there and not here, right? That the modernity, right, and that human rights is located there and not here. You create this idea, right, that your people are somehow backwards. So it takes many decades of working on people. But again, the destruction has been massive, right? And there also have been infiltrations, right? There have been money that's gone to certain people to become spies or forces to manipulate the country against itself. So you have a vulnerability, definitely, in a situation like this, where, again, it comes down to you have to be very, very brave, right, to stand up in a situation like this, or very conscious, actually, right? Most people are really not conscious, and because, again, Israel is waging a sectarian war, so they're really targeting mainly the Shia population of the country. They have also hit some parts of Beirut, other than that, but in general, the vast majority of the targeting has been on Shia areas, and this is deliberate, right? To divide, they're going to say, well, if I'm not Shia, I'm safe, right? So that also creates a kind of a barrier between the people, and also helps to continue the normalization. So it really goes on. There's many layers of normalization that have been going on for many years now to get to this point.
That's true, Professor. Thank you so much for your words, for your analysis. Those people will still will keep on fighting for what they own. They own the land, and they have the right to keep on resisting and fighting. We hope you a safe flight.
Thank
you.
It
was our pleasure having you as a guest. Until we see you next time, Professor.
Thank you, and I appreciate your work, and keep speaking the truth, right? No matter what gets in your way, it's always good to feel inspired by people who still continue and persist despite the most difficult circumstances.
That's true. Thank you so much.
ويا جوزيف ويا سالم وشعبي ضد الاستسلام.
أنا حاملة يافطة بتقول لبنان هذا لن يكون إسرائيليا. ليش؟ لأنه لبنان الذي قدمنا على أرضه الشهداء والدماء والأبناء، لبنان الذي جبل ترابه بأجساد أحبائنا وبدموعهم وبدموع الأيتام وبدموع النساء، لبنان هذا لن يكون في يوم من الأيام إسرائيليا. ولو اجتمع العالم كله سنقف بوجهه، رجالا نساء أطفالا شيبا وشبانا، سنقف بوجه هذا المشروع لكي لا يكون لبنان إسرائيليا، ولكي لا يسرق أرض لبنان، ولكي لا تحتل هذه الأرض ولا تجرف ولا تدمر، لأن هناك عدو متغطرس يريد سرقة الأرض، ونحن وكل شريف من كل الطوائف سنقف بوجه هذا المشروع.
جايين لأن كل شريف وطني وحر وبحب هذا الوطن مزبوط لازم ينزل. أول شيء ما ينطر زعيم ولا سياسي يقول له ينزل. الوطنيين اللي جواته والإنسانية هي المفروض تحركه لينزل لوحده لهون، لأنه نحن وصلنا لمطرح رح نفيق ونلاقي العدو تحت بيوتنا. نحن ناطرين الدولة، نحن المتخاذلة الخونة اللي لهلا ما عملوا شيء إلا عم يسلموا البلد للعدو الصهيوني، وهذا الشيء مستحيل يصير لو بعد 1000 سنة، لو ما بده يبقى منا حدا.
لكل احتلال مقاومة، ولكل مسار تطبيع مع مشروع استعماري احلالي مواجهة. من هنا من ساحة رياض الصلح معقل تحركاتنا النضالية المتنوعة على مر السنين من بيروت عاصمة المقاومة والصمود والتضامن نعلن انطلاق حملة مواجهة الاحتلال ومسار التطبيع في أولى تحركاتها.
نعم، يعني بينما الجنوب عم يتعرض لكل هالاعتداءات والسلطة هون بلبنان عم تعمل مفاوضات مع العدو اللي عم بدمر من دون وضع شروط حد أدنى، ولا شروط ولا شيء، وكأنه الناس ما لها قيمة، حياة الناس ما لها قيمة، حقوق الناس ما لها قيمة. ما بيصير هذا، ما بيصير، في مشكلة كبيرة. الواجب واجب الدولة، واجب السلطة الحفاظ على السيادة الوطنية، مش بهالشكل يتم الحفاظ على السيادة الوطنية.
شو تعليقكم على انه امبارح اليوم الاخير للجوله السابعه من المفاوضات الدوله اللبنانيه استمرت بالمفاوضات رغم انه قبل بيوم كان العدو عم يخرق هذا الاتفاق؟
يعني هيدا بيطرح تساؤلات عن كل اللبنانيين، انه طيب شو السبب؟ شو يعني ما في تقدير، ما في احترام لحقوق اللبنانيين بالجنوب؟ الجنوب منه جزء من لبنان؟ كيف هالحكي؟ نحن مع الدستور ومع انه لبنان موحد، الشعب اللبناني موحد، وبالتالي كل بقعة من لبنان بتعد. اليوم الجنوب عم يتعرض، نحن كلنا ويجب ان نكون جميعنا كلبنانيين واقفين مع اهلنا في الجنوب. هيك تبنى الاوطان، تبنى الاوطان بتوحيد الشعوب مش بتقسيمها مثل ما عم تعمل السلطة الحاكمة بكل اسف.
وما في حل مع محتل.
فريدة، يعني عم نشوفك حاضرونا في كل ساعة، شو النداء اليوم؟
مع محتل.
اولا واجبنا كلنا ننزل اليوم. النداء مثل ما بيقولوا الشباب ضد التطبيع وضد السلام، لانه تقريبا دولتهم ما بتمثلني، راح على الاخر. يعني ما عم بيشوفوا المجازر اللي عم تصير بالجنوب، ما عم بيشوفوا كل يوم البيوت اللي عم تتهدم، ما عم بيشوفوا التجزير بالجنوبي والتجزير بالفلسطيني، وبعدهم راكدين على السلام والتطبيع. والاسرائيلي ما بده لا سلام ولا تطبيع، يعني ما عم يفهموا، ما بعرف شو ماخذين بصراحه، لحتى ما عم يفهموا. يعني عم نحاول نفهمهم انه هيدا الكيان الغاصب المحتل ما بده سلام، بده يقتلنا بس. والدليل النترات اللي بينت بجنوب لبنان اللي كانوا تهمين الاصفر فيها الحزب الله، انه هن فجروا المرفأ، اكتشفوا نترات بجنوب، طلعت للاسرائيلي والاسرائيلي واعترف لهم انه انا فجرت لكم المرفأ وقتلت لكم شبابكم، وبعد رايحين يعملوا معه سلام ومش عم بيصدقوا انه هو اللي قتلهم، وعم يركضوا وراه ليقتل فينا اكثر. ما بقى بدهم يخلصوا مننا، نحن ما بنخلص. اهالي الجنوب واهالي فلسطين وكل العالم اللي عندها كرامه ما بتخلص، هن بيخلصوا ونحن ما بنخلص. فكلنا هون جايين تنقول ضد التطبيع وضد السلام، وهيدا اللوجو لبنانيون ضد التطبيع. ف يروحوا هني لعند الاسرائيلي اذا كثير حابينه لنتنياهو، مثل ما الصحناوي كان قاعد معه، يروح يقعد مننا بس يدلمع ما يرجع لعنا، لانه ما رح يفوت على لبنان. حبيبي
Normalization is a crime. Normalizing what the Zionists are doing to our land and to our people is a crime. Normalizing that the Zionists are allowed to kidnap citizens and residents from southern villages is a crime. Normalizing killing Lebanese citizens every day is a crime. That's what those people are saying. And this is the truth. Normalizing everything that the Zionists are doing puts the future of humanity and the future of Lebanon in danger. This was our report from Beirut. I am Mazloum reporting for Free Palestine TV. I ask you one more time to press the like and subscribe buttons on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website freepalestine.video to donate so we can continue bringing you this content. Until we see you next time, I bid you a world free of Zionism, imperialism, free Lebanon and free Palestine.